Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NBA Trade Zone podcast, where we talk all things NBA trades, past, present, future. Hi, guys. My name is Daniel.
And I am Sebastian, and today we're going to preview the Central Division. The Eastern Conference Central Division. We're going to follow the same format as we did in our last week's podcast, where we will discuss the teams, the records from last year. We'll do over-unders, see where Vegas has them set at, and see if we believe these teams are going to go over or under. Discuss a breakout player we believe is going to come from each team, and then Danny's going to propose a trade for each team. So we'll begin with the Chicago Bulls, whose last year record was at 27-55, and Vegas this year has them at about 27.5. So they have them set at about the same amount of wins. Danny, what are your thoughts on the Bulls over-under?
I think the Bulls should be a 30-win team this year. I have them at 31 wins in my prediction. I believe with the young players they have, the nice young core of players that they have, they should be able to pull out at least 30 wins, especially now with Jabari Parker there, who I really think should be able to stay on the court this year. And I think if he does, he should blossom into a very nice, solid player there. At the very least, a solid scorer, which I think will help them pick up a few extra wins. And I think with players like Chris Dunn there, who plays real good defense and really controls the pace of the game really well, Zach LaVine and Lauri Markkanen, who should really improve on this year with this game. I think that they should be able to pull out 30 wins. And they have some depth there too with young players like Bobby Portis, Denzel Valentine, Cameron Payne, guys who might not be stars and will probably never even be starters, but guys who could come off the bench and be solid contributors. What are your thoughts?
I believe that the Bulls are, when I was looking at their schedule, I counted up what I would consider to be 28 wins. So, I would bet the over, but I'm not highly over here. They're still rather young, and, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these players are going to mash together on the court, especially with Jabari and Zach LaVine coming. Both are pretty much the only thing they can do on the court is score. They can't do much else. They're not great passers. They're more one-on-one players. So, it might end up being that, they don't fit very well, and getting some W's might be a little bit difficult for this team. I do like Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter. I like that front court. So I'm a little bit. I'm hopeful for that. But it is Wendell Carter's first year. It is Lauri Markkanen's only second year. So there's still going to be some growing pains. But I do believe that there's some teams in the East that they will be able to win and play a lot of games against. So, 28 wins is not a lot at all. It's not a good record. But, yeah, I do believe they can do that. I think, their best bet would be to, lose as many games as possible, get another wing or someone to fit in with Lowry and Wendell Carter. But they're obviously not going to go out there and put on a full tank job like they did in the past year.
Yeah, and I think even this past year it proved that they're really not focused on tanking. They lost a lot of games, but I think that they really were trying to go out there and win every night, which I think will pick them up a few extra wins specifically at the end of the year while other teams are tanking.
Yes. So for my breakout player, I think this was a pretty easy choice. Lauri Markkanen was their first-round draft pick from last year. He was a very surprising rookie. He averaged 15 points, 7.5 rebounds, and this was under 30 minutes. With 36% shooting from the three-point line. I only expect that to improve a little bit. I feel like he's going to be a bigger part of the offense this year, and he's going to have more opportunities to grow. My other choice would have been Wendell Carter, but it's his first year, and I know he had a really good summer league, and people, especially the other rookies, are very much they have a high opinion of him, and as do I. But I just believe Lauri Markkanen is going to be the breakout player this year. This is his year to kind of break out. Obviously, he's not going to be fully there yet, and his defense needs a lot of improvement. But on the offensive side, I feel like he'll be the breakout player for the Bulls.
Yeah, and this is a hard one to argue. I think if he could stay healthy, I think Jabari Parker could be in for a breakout year as well. I think he could average close to 20 points, specifically if he's the number one option on the offensive side of the ball, which, if healthy, he should be. With his ability to penetrate and spot up a little bit, I think that this will be his year if he's able to stay healthy. So to propose a trade now, this was pretty tough with the Bulls. They have a lot of young players, and their only real veteran here is Robin Lopez, who's an expiring contract as well. Robin Lopez, I mean, he's at best a solid center, doesn't really stretch the floor at all, plays decent enough defense to stay on the court. So I decided that the Bulls should probably try to pick up another young center here in return for Robin Lopez. And the trade I came up with was the Bulls receiving Nikola Vucevic and the Magic receiving Robin Lopez, the Bulls 2020 second round pick, and the rights to swap picks in the future in 2023. Essentially, Vucevic isn't definitely not worth a first round pick, especially with his injury history. He's able to stretch the floor pretty well now. He will provide you with about 3 assists a game, solid 10 rebounds, 15 points, a steal and a block. So he really is a solid player when healthy. He's had a lot of trouble staying on the court, but he is only 27. So I think he'd fit the Bulls roster fairly well. I mean, both these players are on a one-year contract at about $13 million apiece, so all that matches up. But I think if he could come over to the Bulls and really either probably start for a while, and if Wendell Carter proves that he's a starter, that he's at least worthy of receiving starter minutes on this young team, maybe take over. Wendell Carter could take over, and Vucevic could come in as a backup, either at a 5 position or maybe at a 4. Now that he's able to shoot 3-pointers a little bit. Probably wouldn't be ideal, but again, this is a very young team. They could experiment a little bit. But yeah, Vucevic here is 27, so I think he could fit in with this team. And if he proves that he could stay on the court, the Bulls could re-sign him and keep him there for a couple more years before Wendell Carter is a full-time starter. How do you feel about this trade?
I mean, I don't necessarily know if Nikola Vucevic is a great fit for the Bulls, just because they do have kind of like you mentioned, they have Wendell Carter, Lauri Markkanen, and Bobby Portis, who I am a big fan of, that are all in that position. I don't necessarily want to be taking minutes away from them. Vucevic, yeah, he's got some skills, but he's just not, he's not there defensively. I don't think he's a modern big man. I mean, the Bulls are not really giving up anything here. They're giving up Robin Lopez, and they're losing a second round pick. The question is Vucevic worth the second round pick? Can the Bulls get a second round pick maybe for trading Robin Lopez? I don't know. If there's no other option, then yeah, maybe you do this trade. But if you can get Robin Lopez for a second round pick, I would rather go that route.
Yeah, I mean, and the Bulls including, and the thing here is for Vucevic, I think that's probably his worth at this point is an expiring contract and a second round pick. Now, it's probably a high second-round pick, which I thought was ideal in this situation because the Bulls should be selecting probably somewhere in the high 30s, early 40s with their second-round pick. So I think that's right where about Vucevic's value is at. Fit here is Robin Lopez, I don't think how many teams need a backup center at this point? And not only a backup center, but I probably believe Robin Lopez feels like he's a starting center. So there's not a lot of places to trade Robin Lopez. So I think if we could get a Vucevic here, you do it. For that reason, that Robin Lopez probably would not fit in with many teams right now. And even if he would, how many teams would be willing to give up something for him? But, okay, moving on now to our second team we'll be previewing now, the Cleveland Cavaliers. The LeBron James-less Cleveland Cavaliers.
So the record last year was 50 wins and 32 losses. Obviously, that is not going to happen this year. The Cavs are going to have a tough time winning many games this year just because they lost LeBron James, obviously, and they've lost a lot of their players. So the Cavs are going to – their over-unders are set at 30.5, which I do not believe they'll be able to actually hit. I think that's a little bit high bar. I know they re-signed Kevin Love, and I think it was a terrible contract they signed for Kevin Love for the next 5 years, I believe. So the Cavs kind of put themselves in a bad position. They don't have a lot of young players. They do have Colin Sexton as their rookie. But, I mean, he's going to be a 20-year-old next year, and he's really going to struggle. So the Cavs at 30.5, I would bet the under, and I would feel pretty confident with that bet.
So I actually have the Cavs at 34 wins. I think with Kevin Love there, they still should be able to, especially in the Eastern Conference and in this division, they should be able to win over 30 games. And probably I have them in the 34 range, so I have them at the over here. And I can't disagree with you more now. I mean, I'm sorry, I can't agree with you more that Kevin Love's contract extension was a terrible extension. And the funny thing is, I keep reading about that they might have done this to increase his trade value, which I have no idea how paying this man about $30 million a year over the next 5 years increases his trade value. And by the way, you brought up his contract, so it was a 4-year extension, but since he's signed throughout this season, he's essentially on a contract now for the next 5 seasons at about $30 million a year. So essentially, he's going to be 35, making $30 million a year, and with his health history, I really don't think that contract is going to be worth anything close to that amount by the time he is 34, even probably 33, 34, 35. But at the same time, he is still in his late 20s, so for this next season, he should be able to perform pretty well. And they still do have some solid veterans there who should win him a couple games, depending on how Colin Sexton does. Is going to probably depend on whether they win 28, 29 games or 33, 34 games. So we can move on now to the breakout player, who I think we've mentioned his name a few times right now.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the Cats have traded all their picks in the past few years. So their only pick that I have, player that I could have put down for a breakout player, would be their rookie Colin Sexton, who a lot of teams are pretty high on. He's an offensive-minded point guard. And he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. And if he's going to be running the pick and roll with Kevin Love or pick and pop. So, Colin Sexton is going to have a chance to really show who he is. Obviously, he's going to have a lot of time to grow. He'll have the ball in his hands. So, Colin Sexton's a breakout player, mainly because there's no other options. I mean, the only other person who you could consider a breakout player would be Shady Osman, but I have no faith in him, and I think Colin Sexton is the guy here to choose.
I mean, I don't know. Some people are high on Shady or
Shady.
Shady. Let's go with Shady Osman. I don't see much from him. I don't think he's going to be more than a role player at best in the league. But if people really think he's going to break out, okay. But Colin Sexton will be provided with every opportunity here to prove his worth essentially, and to make any case for Rookie of the Year. And really, with LeBron James leaving, I mean, for him at the very least, I think this is a blessing because of the fact now that all the pressure is gone. If LeBron James was in Cleveland, he would have had a tremendous amount of pressure on him to perform right away, and probably would have been under a very small microscope and would have been allowed a very small opportunity to mess up. But right now, with just Kevin Love there, who is a very solid veteran, Colin Sexton could probably play off of him very well. He's going to be provided with every opportunity to prove his worth and make a strong case for at least an all-rookie team and probably Rookie of the Year. So we'll see how that one works out. So the trade I'm going to propose for the Cleveland Cavaliers here, and we're taking into account here that the Cavs are trying to win. I mean, by giving Kevin Love an extension, I'm assuming here that they're trying to win, and I don't think I'm wrong with that assumption. That the Cavaliers are going to try to remain legitimate. So I have them trading with the New York Knicks. I have them trading George Hill and J.R. Smith, who's essentially are pretty worthless on this roster right now, to the New York Knicks for Tim Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee, the Hornets 2020 second-round pick, and the Knicks 2023 second-round pick. Now, with this deal here, it's all about contracts. George Hill and J.R. Smith both have 2 years remaining on the contracts, but both of their second years on each of their contracts is non-guaranteed. So essentially, combined, George Hill and J.R. Smith have a $4 million guaranteed, combined $4 million guarantees in 2019 for the 2019-2020 season. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is on contract for about $48 million over the next 3 seasons. And Courtney Lee's on contract for about anywhere between $20 and $22 million over the next 2 seasons. And I think it's been widely speculated that the Knicks are going all in 2019 free agency. So they have to get rid of these contracts along with Joakim Noah. But it's been reported that they're most likely going to stretch him, which makes the most sense too. And the thing with Tim Hardaway Jr. and Courtney Lee, both of them are pretty high contracts, but both of them